You know, I wonder why I don't watch Iron Man 3 around Christmas time since it takes place during Christmas. Well, technically it doesn't really count as a Christmas movie, but just like with Die Hard, it takes place during Christmas, so technically it counts. Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is the seventh film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, came out in 2013. Not directed by Jon Favreau, this time directed by Shane Black. Stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Guy Pearce, and Ben Kingsley. The plot of this film, it takes place after the events of The Avengers and how it's heavily affecting Tony Stark. How he's having panic attacks and he's having relationship problems with Pepper Potts. While his life is about to fall apart, Tony Stark must go on a personal journey, not to stop two new villains, the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, and Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce, but to deal with his own personal problems. I remember being really excited for this movie back in 2013. I loved the first Iron Man, wasn't a big fan of Iron Man 2, thought it was really disappointing when compared to the first movie. Then I loved The Avengers, and when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was surprised by the dark and gritty tone in the trailers. Very surprised me about the tone they were going for in this movie, considering the first two, and including The Avengers, were lighthearted movies. They picked Shane Black to direct this movie, directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, also with Robert Downey Jr., good movie, and he also directed The Nice Guys, which is also a very good comedy. And he's also making a new Predator movie, which is coming out this year. He's a very good director, and I was interested to see what he does with an action movie, like big budget action movie. I was really hoping that this movie would be an improvement over Iron Man 2, but maybe as good as Iron Man. And I gotta say, Iron Man 3 is pretty good. It's an enjoyable superhero movie, and happy to say it is much better than Iron Man 2, much better story structure than Iron Man 2. Not quite as good as Iron Man 1 or The Avengers, but it's still an entertaining superhero movie nonetheless. What makes this movie work are the performances. Everyone cast is great. Robert Downey Jr. continues to be a fantastic as Tony Stark / Iron Man. I love seeing the emotional journey he goes through in this movie, a lot more emotion with this character, and I loved how Shane Black kind of toned down the abrasive side of Tony Stark, because one of my problems with Iron Man 2 was that Tony Stark became a little too unlikable, just an unlikable jerk, and not a lovable jerk, just an unlikable jerk. And luckily, well, he still maintains a jerk in this movie, but there was a good emotional side to his character, and he still maintains his lovable side as well. I gotta be honest, out of these three Iron Man movies, this is probably my favorite performance of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark out of the Iron Man trilogy. And he's still funny, likable, and charismatic as always. Robert Downey Jr. is just simply awesome. Gwyneth Paltrow also does a really good job as Pepper Potts again, and nice to see her in the action scenes, get a little more for her to do. Don Cheadle is much better in this movie than he was in Iron Man 2, feels a little more comfortable in the role. He's great in the action scenes. Guy Pearce does good. Ben Kingsley is a good job. Everyone cast is doing great. The action scenes in this movie are amazing. The two standout action scenes in this movie. One, I love the destruction of Tony Stark's mansion. I love that sequence. Very entertaining. And I also love the Air Force One scene and seeing Iron Man try to save all these people. Love that scene, that was fantastic, and there are many great action scenes throughout this movie. Also, the visual effects are fantastic, many inventive ways with the Iron Man suits, especially the way they were used during the climax. This is a very funny movie. There are many good moments of banter, whether it was Tony and Pepper, or Tony and Rose, or even Tony and the Kid, which I thought those scenes were well done. Yeah, and there was still some good comedy in this movie too. There was probably the funniest Iron Man movie out of the trilogy. And let me talk probably the most controversial part of this movie, the Mandarin twist. This should have failed. This could have been infamous in comic book movies like the dance scene in Spider-Man 3 or Deadpool and X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is a very divisive twist. You're okay with it or you absolutely hate it. I don't mind this twist that much. When I first saw this movie in theaters, I was a little disappointed. It's like, really? That's your twist? Was a little disappointed since how much the Mandarin was built up so much and how much menace Ben Kingsley brought to the role. And to see that was a little disappointing at first. But then I thought about more and just kind of got used to it. I didn't mind it that much. I thought it was a well done twist. I loved how unpredictable it was. You clearly did not see that coming. And I thought Ben Kingsley pulled it off well. Which leads me to my negatives with the movie, and I'll get to those right now. While I didn't mind the Mandarin twist so much in this movie, there is still a part of me that was a little disappointed how much wasted potential it was, considering you got a great actor to play the Mandarin, Ben Kingsley, and see that, it was a little disappointing despite it was very funny and very unexpected twist. Was a bit of a wasted potential. And another forgettable Marvel villain. Despite that Guy Pearce is doing a very good job in the role, Audrey Killian wasn't really a memorable villain to me. And yeah, his henchmen in the film, people that could like breathe fire, I just felt like every scene they were in, they were a bit corny. Besides all those problems, I still enjoy Iron Man 3 years later. It's a very enjoyable superhero movie. Funny, great action, great banter, great performances, good emotional journey, fantastic visuals. Pretty much a good superhero movie. Much better than Iron Man 2, but not quite as good as Iron Man 1, but still very entertaining movie. And I'm going to give Iron Man 3 4 stars out of 5. And if you haven't seen it in a while, definitely give it a rewatch. It's a very good superhero movie, and I would say it's a nice conclusion to the Iron Man trilogy, and it's a pretty good superhero movie. Although the next MCU film after Iron Man 3 is Thor: Dark World, I already did a review of that. My opinion, that movie still holds up. Don't really feel like doing a re-review, skipping that one, and moving on to a much better MCU sequel after Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Very excited to talk about that one. Next review. So what do you guys think of Iron Man 3? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review. Robert Downey Jr. just continues to be fantastic as Tony Stark. What?